Okay. So I'll try to be a little quicker than planned because we are just a little bit late. So I'll try to do this relatively quickly. So I will talk to you and show you about CSS teaming and Aristo 3. But first, I have to apologize, of course, because Aristo 3 should have been part of the release of today, 1.0. But, of course, too much work, too much children, too much, not this one, not this one. So, despite all the efforts, voilà, we need some more time to finish this. But I will show you the current state of the CSS teaming. So the genesis. Some months ago, we were talking on Gitter, chatting on Gitter about what should be in 1.0 release. So many ideas came. Node.js, of course, source map, a flat UI, CSS UI, UI kit also, but this one is to drop. Cappuccino is not done for that. So then this was the moment where I better have jump into the water or play to Russian roulette. This is Russian roulette for geeks. If you can't read it, in fact, one chance in 6, it will erase all your hard drive. And instead I said, I can have a look at the UI thing. So that was a mistake. Indeed, Cappuccino is a very powerful tool and wonderful tool. Also, you can use Xcode plus Xcode Cap to design, polish precisely your fine-tuned user interface. But when you run it in the browser, you get nowadays something like this. So this is Aristo 2, and of course it's less sexy than what you designed in Xcode, Interface Builder, in fact. So we have something to do there. So the question was, how can we use CSS teaming in Cappuccino? First thing is that it should be 100% compatible with current teaming system, because you don't have to change anything to your code to use another theme. So this was like solving something like this. And after searching very complicated solutions to not rewrite everything and so on, then the light came to me. And in fact, the solution is simple. I love saying that solution is simple. In fact, teaming is done mainly by these two classes, CP color and CP images. And if we can add CSS management to those two classes, then we can implement CSS teaming. And they are used mainly in three classes: CP view when in set background color, CP image view, and CP and text image and text view. So modifying those three would do the trick. So the idea was to have a new kind of color, but it is exactly the same for pictures, for images. Color with CSS dictionary. You push a dictionary of CSS instruction. Before dictionary and after dictionary are used for before and after pseudo element in CSS. If you don't want to use pseudo elements, you can use the short form, which works exactly the same. We had 4 convenience methods. ECSS based, so you can test a color or an image to see if it is a CSS based object. And of course, search for SCSS dictionary, SCSS before dictionary, and after dictionary also. So this is, for example, a definition for a color, CSS color in Aristo 3. It is for a pop-up button. And you have here the dictionary to draw the border, the background, and so on. A before and an after dictionary. Here, to the after dictionary, is to put the little arrows on the right of the pulled on a pop-up menu. And if you, it was small, so I put it greater. Not everything in the UI may be transformed in pure CSS. So sometimes you need images, small images, and what I've done is to pack all those small images into one images, here packed .png, and using CSS instruction, you can pick the right picture and put it on screen. The trick here also for Retina display, because one of the goals also for CSS theming is to be fine on the Retina display. And so for images, the trick is to store in the picture double resolution images and to put instruction to cut width and 8:2. So you get on Retina display, you get higher resolution images. And during, I forgot, during theme loading, in fact, the special person characters will be translated into the path to the resource folder or the blend loaded, the theme blend loaded. Then, of course, CP theme and CP theme blend had to be modified to load and cope with CSS theme, but it's very simple adaptations. And then all together, I'll launch the first test, and it works. So I was very happy. It was not artistic at all. It was ugly, but it works. And then I hoped at the moment that someone told, okay, I will take that and I will build Aristo 3 on top of CSS theming. But no one said that, so as I wanted it also, I say, okay, I go on and try to build something. At that moment, there was a choice to be made. As we had an opportunity to reduce complexity of the generated DOM at that moment. Or to be 100% compliant with the current theming system. Because one of the problems of Cappuccino theming system or rendering system is that the DOM is very complicated, very deep, very deep, and during a certain, under certain circumstances, it puts heavy load on the browser, mainly when you move something on the screen. But of course, easy is too easy, so I try to go and simplifying the generated DOM. So the idea is that when it's possible, is to cut off the bezel view. In fact, each view has, each control, for example, view has a bezel view and a content view. And in current theming system, the bezel is put in the bezel view, of course. This is the good name. And with CSS theming, in fact, we have no more bezel view, and the CSS instructions are directly put on the view itself. So it has a drawback because if you use borders, CSS borders, then the content is shift. For example, you have a 1 pixel border, the content is visually at 1.1 origin, but a cappuccino think it's 0.0, 0.0. So there are countermeasures in the teaming, in the team, and which are also team attributes. This way of doing will be, it's not done yet, will be also a team attribute. So you would be able to create a CSS team keeping the bezel view system. So no problem with origin modification and so on. What is the result of trying to do so? This is a CP button usual way. So Aristo 2, I say numbers in French, it's strange. Okay. It's my grandmother was always counting money in its own language, her own language. So this is CP button the usual way. You have one div, this is the view itself, the button view itself. The second one is the bezel view. The third one, the fourth and fifth are the three-part image pattern. So you have left part, center part, right part. Then, of course, the content view. It is CP image and text view. And the seventh view is the text. And the eighth view is the shadow of the text. With reduced CSS theming, you have only three divs. Of course, the button view, the content view, and the text view inside the content view. If, of course, in Aristo 3, there's no shadows on text, button text and other text. But if you want to put a shadow, you have a direct CSS shadow, so nothing more than that. Okay. Of course, it would be too easy if there were no problem. Mainly, the problem is that some widgets draw something to render. You have the CP box, for example, that draw its borders by drawing, not using a CP color image or so on. So I have to adapt this. Some widgets use hard coding values rather than team values, team attribute values. nib2cib was also doing some special stuff with hard-coded values. For example, nib2cib tries to figure out which button, which kind of button you are putting on the UI, and if it is this kind of button, then I transform the frame that way. If it is another that way, but it is hard-coded. So I had to make it dynamic. And also, the last thing is that nib2cib uses a well-named nib2cib frame adjustment attribute, which is perfect to render because Interface Builder consider alignment frame and real frame, and there is a difference between the two. So this attribute is used by nib2cib to correct the position of the different element, but it only did for CP control and subclasses. So I had to move this to CP view so that every widget can use nib2cib frame adjustment. Because, for example, tab views are not controls, they are views, simply. So, having CSS theming, then I can begin to work on Aristo 3. The goal, Aristo 3, and we discussed yesterday evening about this. Aristo 3 is not a masterpiece of artwork. The main goal is to have a default theme coming from Cappuccino, where you are sure that what you have in Xcode Interface Builder will be exactly what you get in the browser. So no great imagination toward something sexy and so on. No, it should be as exactly the same as possible. But of course, it is a flat design, so more flat than Cocoa this way, and it must use CSS theming. So a little demo, cross finger, because each time I do a demo, everything crashes. Okay. I have to close this one. Up. Maybe it would be easier to share the screen. Yes. Okay. So this is current Aristo artwork, and this is, oh, it's not on the same tab, Aristo 3. I won't go in detail about each widget, but maybe some that lead me to some problems. For the menu, we have in modern Cocoa, in fact, the first item, which is the name of the application, and it's shown in bold, and CP menu doesn't cope with that. So if in your menu item you put a tag, -1 tag, automatically you have that item in bold. Here we use CP tab box, which is a very strange object, because it is a view that uses segmented control and the box, but it uses segmented control, not the usual way of segmented control, and uses box, not the usual way of CP boxes. So I had to deal with this one a lot, and for example, here in Aristo 2 and previous release, when you select a tab, it changes the view at the moment you push at mouse down. But in Cocoa, you can push, and if you not release, it does not change the view. So I had to adapt the CP segmented. You have buttons, of course. You have pop-up menus, pull-down menus, checkboxes. I love this one. Maybe I can zoom a little bit because, as we said, CSS theming has the advantage that it can be zoomed. When, for example, you can play. So this is a pure. Yeah, Safari has problem with zooming. In fact, the little sign, checksum sign and EC mixed sign, in fact, are pure CSS. Though there is no image in that. So I can, with CSS transform, do little animation. The minus sign transform in the V sign, like it does in Cocoa, in fact. Radio buttons also, I will take this one. You have a little animation on the focus ring and so on. This is just using CSS transition. This one, segmented control, is bad for the moment because we have a problem from comparing to Cocoa. In Cocoa, you can't anymore add or remove segments in the CP segmented control. And you can say that a segment is uses a fixed width or is automatically, the width is automatically computed. This is not the case presently in Cappuccino, so I'll have to rewrite this widget. For the pleasure, we have two parts sliders with the blue part in left and bottom, like in Cocoa. But this is an attribute of the team, so it is not mandatory. You can have gray. Normal gray sliders. Text field with focus ring CSS focus ring with little animation, token fields, secure text fields, rounding tail fields, of course. And one of the widgets I love in Cocoa, in modern Cocoa, is the search field, because I think this is truly what has to be done for a search field. Here, it just waits to search. Okay, I click in here, and it scrolls and let you enter what you're searching. So I had as goal to reproduce what Cocoa does. It is not perfect, as the little caret appears too soon, and so it should wait that the magnifier reaches the left border, but I can't. I have no control over it right now. But to do this kind of thing without breaking current cappuccino, I had to introduce another type of theme attribute, which is functions. So the animation is a function specified in the theme. And this is very useful because you can use those kind of functions, for example, to calculate positions if your theme does something very special and to not break everything else in Cappuccino. So the animation is a function. I use this kind of thing also in for table views. I think I have something to show about this. It's here. Okay. This is an animation function in the theme, in Aristo 3 theme. In fact, the function is transformed, thanks to JavaScript, into a string simply by putting a double quote plus the function definition, and JavaScript transforms it into a string. So it's easy to store in the theme description. And the use of this is just to call Objective-G eval and the theme layout function in this case. So it's easy to use after that. Also, boxes. Oh, a little detail. In fact, in the early days of Aristo 3 work, I had many difficulties finding which colors are using Apple Cocoa for text, for example, or for borders. And in fine, I found that, in fact, there are colors with alpha channel. So they are not plain gray, it's black at 85% or 25% and so on. And I found this working on the encapsulated boxes, because if I first thought that the Apple has predict that you will have no more than 8 boxes, so computed that I will use this gray, this gray, this gray, this gray. No, it's only alpha channel gray, because if you change color, you don't see anything. Change color. Okay, it adapts everywhere. Tables, sorry. Oh, I don't like this background. Okay. Table views are the most, in my point of view, the most powerful widget of the whole Cappuccino framework. It's a wonderful piece of software. But we had yet many bugs inside it. And to be able to manage Aristo 3 as table views, I had first to fix those bugs. For example, just to show you, if you are somewhere in your table and start dragging a column, the whole thing scrolls up until the bottom. It's a bug, of course. If you have a column passing the right border and drag it, you have only a part, if you see the gray line, a part of the column width, but the header is correct. and so on. So we had many of these. But using CSS theming and animation function, we can now have a modern Cocoa way of doing, like scrolling and so on. It was just, how to say in English? I wouldn't be happy if I couldn't do this. I wanted to do this, so it's now easy to do. Everything is in the system, so we can do this. So, as I said, this is not something very innovative. This is just a port, simplified. It is flatter than Cocoa, but it's just a port. And while chatting on Gitter, I think it's Shell who said me, "Oh yeah, you choose Marvelous Blue, but I prefer Orange." For example, I don't know if it was Orange or so on. And may I change it easily? Yeah, of course. You create, you duplicate CSS3, Aristo 3. You change colors, everything. Oh yeah, maybe simpler, dynamically, and so on. And 5 nights later, because I don't like to say I can't do that. I had this little thing. Look, I push on Alt Theme, and now we have Alt Colors. And on this one, we have beautiful green color, of course. And no, it does this. It's not this one. It's this one. Yeah, yeah. And if you see well, the double arrow is here is now a little smiley, especially for Shell, with the tongue like this. So this is what I've called dynamic attribute value sets. And it's very easy to implement in your application, because what will be done with Aristo 3 is that every color or some kind of elements will be published as variables. And you only have in the app controller to make a category on CP application and answer to a specific method and provide whatever. I can show you. It's easier than trying to explain. I go there. Okay, it's here. So your application should answer to a team dynamic attribute set. And of course, I imagine that you will have a preference pane asking the user what is your preferred color team, and store it in the CP user default. So when calling this, you can get the user choice from the CP user default, and regarding which choice is made, specify colors or specify another packed image and so on. Maybe also, but I don't know, I don't think I will go that far. Maybe also I can expose animation functions, but I don't think it will be a good idea. So, but if you create your own theme, you can expose whatever you want as values and permit the application to change those. You're not obliged to specify every exposed values, because here you have 3, here you have 4. In fact, if you don't override a value, it will just use the default value in the Aristo 3 team. Yeah. Oh yeah. I wanted to show you something else, is that if I take a screen capture of this somewhere here, okay, then going to my Aristo 3 Cocoa and launching the app. Where is it? Here. For source screen capture. Up. Take that over that. No. Each time. Okay. Okay. And so I cross my fingers, but it moves. It shouldn't move. Okay, that's the demo effect. It should not move at all.
Maybe you're zoomed in on the browser.
Excuse me?
Maybe you're zoomed in on the browser.
Oh, maybe. No, I don't think so. No. But here is not good. Here it's not good. I must have changed something. But please trust me. But it shouldn't be modified by a pixel. This is only because for newcomers, designing something in Xcode and then seeing it on their browser will be important. And after that, you do whatever you want with your team. Voila. And I said I tried to be quick. I think it's almost finished. Yeah, what's next, of course. So we have many work remaining. First, find why it moves during the demo, but it shouldn't. And also, after that, we will need you to test it because we are touching very everywhere. In fact, in the application, so we will need many tests to be sure that nothing broke down. Okay, and after that, I have plenty of new ideas because Cocoa also evolved during that time. And for example, you have now tabbed windows. And I love tabbed windows because it's very useful, mainly if you use bridge platform windows. And I already have some kind of working tab windows, but I have to put it now in that. And just thank you for your attention.